Development and Promotion. We also have Raedi Shabamolobe, the Director of Policy at Business Botswana. We have our attendees, the export community. We have members of the diplomatic committee community also attending. We have our partner institutions in both the private and the government sector. And we also have some business associations here in attendance. Our program for today is going to be a short one. We are going to run for about an hour and 30 minutes. Our online viewers who are logged in via the Zoom platform have the opportunity to engage us on the chat platform. You can pose whatever questions or areas of clarification that you might need to be clarified during the course of the proceedings. And then you also have access to us post this meeting to engage us on any issues that will be discussed here today. As we proceed with the program, please ensure that you keep your mics muted when you are not on the floor. Without any further ado, I would like to call upon Ray Kilotustoli Bile to deliver the welcome remarks for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Temo, Director of Ceremonies. Let me start by recognizing the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry, Meke Kganele Malikonga. Also recognize the UNDP Resident Representative in Botswana, Your Excellency Jacinta Barings, President of Business Botswana, Re Kibine, representatives of the export community and the private sector joining us for this function, members of the media, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Let me say all protocol is observed as I extend a very good morning to you all. It is our singular honor to welcome you to the official launch of the revised Botswana Exporter Development Programme. On behalf of the mighty family, the Botswana Investment and Trade Center, our key strategic partner, the UNDP, and indeed on my own behalf, we're delighted to host you this morning. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to celebrate this key milestone with us. Ladies and gentlemen, whilst my role is to simply welcome you, I wish to express our highest appreciation to the UNDP, our partner and sponsor for this program, for their unwavering support in ensuring that the national priority of an export-led economy is realized. Thank you, Your Excellency Barings and your highly effective team for delivering on this project, and we are very happy to be at a stage where we are launching the revised program today. I wish to also thank the reference group, and I know they will be named and listed as we go with the program, who oversaw the design of the revised program. Your input has been critical in ensuring that all critical facets of the Exporter Development Program are covered. The journey was a lengthy one indeed, but I'm happy to say we managed. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, our export sector is currently facing a lot of challenges that need a concerted effort to address. We look upon the national strategies and policies such as the revised Industrial Development Policy, the National Service Sector Development Strategy, and the revised National Export Strategy that we are launching today to assist us in revising or increasing the range of exportable products from Botswana. Export development and promotion should remain the core of our economic transformation agenda, and this will be one key input that drives us in that direction. Ladies and gentlemen, let me highlight that despite the current challenges presented by COVID-19, the African continent is still forging ahead with the creation of what is likely to be the largest trade agreement in the world, with a combined GDP of around 3.4 trillion in US dollars. That is the Africa Continental Free Trade area. We must ensure that Botswana is not left behind in benefiting from this enhanced market access opportunity, which gives us access to more than 1.2 billion people across Africa. Director of Ceremonies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to also reiterate that as BITC, we stand ready to explore the journey with all key stakeholders who are participating today, and even those that wouldn't have joined us but are still committed to the cause. And we are open to engagement in export development and promotion. We do not only support exporters, but also local and domestic investors that wish to set up new enterprises or expand existing business ventures in Botswana or from Botswana outwards. Our one-stop shop, one-stop service center, which we abbreviate as BOSC, is open to facilitate you to start operations in the best and shortest time possible. And I can assure you that the service standards are ever increasing to world standards. Other speakers, I'm very sure, will expand on the facets of the revised Botswana Exporter Development Programme. So I wouldn't dwell into that. Mine was just to welcome you, and I thank you for listening this morning. And once again, say you are warmly welcome by the Botswana Investment and Trade Center. I thank you, Director of Ceremonies.
Thank you, Olibile. Our next speaker on the program, we welcome onto the stage Her Excellency Jacinta Barnes, UNDP resident representative, to give us some few remarks on UNDP support and the development of the revised Botswana Exporter Development Programme and its implementation. Excellency, we welcome you on stage to share with us your key messaging this morning.
Good morning, and thank you very much, Master of Ceremonies. And I also want to acknowledge the Permanent Secretary, Ms. Malingungwa, and I also want to acknowledge the CEO, Mr. Olibile, and also I know that the French ambassador is online, as well as acknowledging the President of Business Botswana, and we also have members from both the German US Embassy and the British High Commission, along with other UN colleagues, and all the other many members, because I see now as I speak there's over 64. So a warm welcome also to all of you. Thank you, Mr. Olibile, for your very kind words. It was a pleasure for us as UNDP to be supporting you under your leadership in looking and going through the journey of revising this export program. So it has been a very interesting journey, because it has thrown up many things in a challenging environment. So we were privileged to be part of that. As you know, our journey started way back when we reviewed the previous export program. And there were many lessons learned from that. And what is it that's in this one that's not in that one? Or what's different about this one that's not in that one? And I guess for me, I always see a launch about sharing with others what the focus of this is. So I'm going to use my few minutes to get across in very simple language to everyone what the objective of this one is, and there are three. So I'm going to repeat them a little bit along the way, so that all our 65 members will walk away knowing the three objectives of the export program. And I promise anyone that will write it in the chat box, a hearty coffee or a good tea the next time they come to the UN building, if you have remembered the three objectives. And the reason I'm challenging everyone here to remember them is I want us to walk away from this launch feeling that each of us, in our own way, whatever that might be, can contribute in some way to one of the objectives. So I'm already putting a challenge before I even go in to explain what the three objectives are. So the first one is all about, and it's probably common to all, any kind of such programs. It's about awareness first about the program. And it is about not only awareness, it is about capacity. And the question is capacity of who? It's the existing exporters or potential. So there's our first objective. It's building awareness and the capacity of both existing exporters and new. So the whole idea is here, how can we in Botswana not only look at the current ones, but how can we build the capacity of the current ones and bring in new potential ones? What is motivating people to go into this space? What will motivate them to export? Botswana is diversifying its economy, and there's lots of evidence shown in the last 10 years that we are diversifying the products. But when it comes to export, we have a journey to go. We have started the journey, but we have a journey to go. So in this first one, it's about how do we encourage, make aware, build capacity to make sure that there are existing and new ones willing to export. So that's the first one. Now, the second one is about diversify our products. It's mainly about that. The first one, by the way, has 10 outputs. And I'm going to let any of you who have not much time, the program itself, if you jump in to page 60, table 10, it summarizes everything for you. One is not supposed to do that. And you know, going to college and that, if your lecturer saw you that you were jumping into the summary without understanding the context, you get 0 marks. But I'm afraid in our busy world, I do exactly what I was told not to do. I jump into that summary, which is on page, as I say, table 10, page 60. And it gives you, objective 1 has 10 outputs. So if you want to go through all the things that BITC is going to lead on, it's listed in those 10 outputs. So as I mentioned, the second one is all about diversifying. We assume diversifying is easy, but it's not. And especially because of the region we live in, and of the neighbors we live in, and of the resources we're in, and so on. So diversifying is not such an easy one. So a lot of effort has to go into planning for diversity and to thinking through how this will happen. So diversify markets. And how will we diversify the markets? A lot is about linking the products we've got to producers out there and to the big companies, not just in the region, not just in our neighborhood, but how can we do it beyond the continent? How can we do it to Europe? How can we do it to the other continents, to America and others? Where are the opportunities of markets? And this is a big thing in this in the new export strategy. How do we look at what we've got in terms of product and link to these new markets? But at the same time, how do we encourage new products and be ambitious, be innovative, and go beyond what we're normally looking at? How do we do that? And every one of us on the call here, I'm sure we have brilliant ideas, either on how to diversify a market, a product, or even diversifying the markets. So I'm glad that we have the development partners here as well who see there's an opportunity that they can play their role in diversifying the markets. So let us look at what we can do. And as I say, in this one, there's 14 outputs. So the team over the next 5 years are going to be very, very busy looking at new markets. And I know that Botswana has done a lot of diversifying the markets already. So where's the new niches? What has COVID thrown up for us that will provide a new niche? What other markets now, given what we're seeing around the world, can we really look at that? So as I say, the second output is to diversify the export markets by linking products and markets. So there's my second one for anyone who's wanting to get that coffee or tea. Now the third one, it is promote a favorable business environment for exporters. Now we've heard this many times, and this is not just in the export program. Currently we're also looking at, we're supporting and we're privileged to support METI in developing the Economic Diversification Drive program. And it too is about promote a favorable business environment. And Mr. Olibili opened up about the number of other initiatives that's going on, including the Citizens Economic Empowerment Programme, the many laws and trades, that's all about favorable environment. So how can we work to create a favorable environment? And there's 4 outputs in this one. So recap: build awareness, capacity for existing businesses, new businesses, output 1. 2, how do we create that and expand our market for the existing and for the new? And at the same time as expanding our market, how do we expand our product? And the 3rd objective is all about the enabling environment, enabling environment. How do we make it right? What are the incentives for the existing and new businesses to want to export? What is that enabling environment? What's holding us back? Is our trade agreements in any way holding us back? Are they helping us? What do we need to change? So it's that enabling environment. So they're the 3 objectives. So maybe I tell you a little bit in terms of what UNDP is trying to do and support also in enhancing the implementation of those 3. But before I go into that, I would like to come back to my start and say, I'd like every one of us here present to go away thinking about, is there anything in these 3 objectives that we can help? And I'm convinced, yes. I'm glad Business Botswana is here, because we are working with Business Botswana, have been developing the private sector COVID recovery plan that talks a lot about export. And I'm glad there's other government institutions here. I'm glad the media is here, because now the media is such a wonderful platform to sell the message, tell the message, encourage others to get on board. But really, all of us need to play our part in implementing this. So in the first one, we're been working, as I mentioned, in terms of Business Botswana, also working with Mighty in terms of the Economic Diversification Drive new program. But it's really in the second one where we're doing a lot in terms of diversifying the product and also looking at the market. Most of you are familiar with the Supplier Development Programme we have, which is exactly talks to Objective 2, where we knock on the door of the large buyers, they are the market, and ask them, are they willing to buy of the small, medium enterprises? And once they are, we then make sure that we assign a highly trained business consultant to the SME for a period of up to nearly a year to make sure they supply. So that really talks to the second one. This talks to the market, because the buyer is the market, and it is about helping that supplier to change the product and make sure it's of the quality the buyer wants. So the buyer then can export to any country around the world, not just here in Botswana. So there are some of the initiatives we're trying to help with. And let me come to the 3rd one, the enabling environment. I know there's been a lot talked about this in the last number of years. Every time you open the newspaper, there's something about a law that has been introduced, a protocol, a procedure, the whole work now with the ZISA as well, just to encourage FDIs and so on. The digital world, the 4th industrial revolution, all of that. How does that help new industries to come here? Some of the things that we're doing is we're glad also to be working with Mighty. And the focus at the moment is in terms of training to simplify some of the trade agreements, which talk exactly to the export program. And the current ones that we're helping to simplify and also do corresponding training is the AGOA, also the SADC EU Economic Program Agreement, and also the SADC Free Trade Agreement. And the next round, we hope to be also helping to simplify. We will look at the SACU and the Mozambique UK, and also we look at the African Free Continental Trade Agreement as well, amongst others going forward. Now, these trade agreements, often they're written in language that's very complicated. Many don't really understand it. And if you're a small business wanting to export, often the language puts you off. So the whole idea is to simplify this. And also we're working with Mighty in the department to have the staff really trained on this, so that people become familiar with these trade agreements and feel that they are helpful and not a hindrance. Often you see this agreement as, oh, it's a barrier. But how do we change the narrative that not a barrier? It's really about a mechanism to help us. So one of that initiative is very much about helping to break down what these mean and bring out in simple language how the various both buyers as well as the SMEs can avail of them. And in addition, we're supporting Mighty on what we call a regulatory impact assessment system for the ministry. And again, this is all about creating an enabling environment of how to do business, how and when a policy should be introduced. Does it help business or does it hinder? So they're just some examples. But I want to really conclude again by saying, let us walk away from this launch today feeling that this export program, yes, it has 3 objectives. Yes, it is about making sure we really support the small, medium enterprises, and they know about it. They know about the opportunities, because often they don't avail of it because they don't know about the opportunity. And the idea of this launch is to spread the word. There is an export program. It will be about helping small, medium enterprises to export and expand their product. And it is about enabling environment. And I think we really need to continue after today. Today is just the start, but I think we shouldn't forget over the next 4 years to use every opportunity to push the thinking in the export program. And as I say, a quick deep dive is table 10. So I'd again just like to say thank you so much. I'm really pleased and honored to be part of this together with you. And I've also tasked myself and our team that we don't see today as the end. We see today as the beginning, and also of this long journey of implementing. So we stand by you in the next 4 years, and in any way that you think that we can help for you to achieve the many outputs. In total, we have 10, 24, 28 outputs. So over the next 4 years, we have 28 outputs. So if we in any way can help you implement them, we stand ready and we'll be privileged to do so. So to all, thank you very much. I'm glad of this opportunity to speak and share a few thoughts. Thank you. Over.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for those wonderful words. I guess there are a lot of takeaways to take from the messaging. I'll now call to the stage our Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Investment, Trade and Industry, Meg Khanel Malikoma, to deliver the keynote address. Yes, you are welcome on stage.
Thank you, Director of Ceremony. Let me first start by recognizing the UNDP representative in Botswana, Your Excellency Jacinta Barnes, the CEO BITC, Reo Libile, President of Business Botswana, Ray Bineng, and your team. I also want to recognize the export community, the private sector, and also representatives of the media. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a good morning to you. It indeed gives me great pleasure to officiate at this important occasion, marking the official launch of the revised Botswana Export Development Programme. I wish to extend my sincere appreciation to our host, BITC and UNDP, for convening this important gathering, which bears testimony of government's commitment to make Botswana an export-led economy. I also want to pass my special thanks to UNDP for sponsoring this important initiative. Ladies and gentlemen, it is widely accepted that our economy is at crossroads, and we are in need of social transformation as well as economic transformation. I think we are all aware that as an economy, we have been dependent on the mining sector as the main export earner. However, the performance of this sector has been declining over 2 decades due to a change in particular in commodity prices. We have statistics that point to that effect, that over time we've seen a drop in diamond earnings contribution to GDP from the 1980s up to 2000. The current social and economic challenges have further been exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic. And as a result, Botswana as an economy has to divert its initial plans to address the impacts of the pandemic. In recognizing the critical role of the export sector in driving the economy of Botswana, government has prioritized export-led economy as one of the 4 priorities in UNDP 11, and also in the long-term vision of this country, as well as in achieving sustainable development goals. Therefore, our gathering here today marks an important milestone in launching one of the key strategies that will propel our country to achieve an export-led economy. Ladies and gentlemen, I also wish to state that the program that we are launching today is not a new instrument. You might be aware that it has been in place since 2013. It was designed to contribute to Botswana's export in an ever-changing and increasingly competitive global environment. The Botswana Export Development Programme is part of the National Export Strategy and is an essential part of Botswana's strategic economic framework. Therefore, it is worth noting that the first edition of the Botswana Export Development Programme had a time frame. It ran over 2013 to 2017. This program was preceded by another program, a similar program, Export Development Programme, which was from 2007 to 2013. This program was led by the former BEDP. The main objective of Botswana Export Development Programme was to increase exports by building a pool of export-ready economies. The program further sought to cultivate an export culture amongst local entrepreneurs and enterprises, to develop new products for export markets, to increase exports in existing markets, to find new markets for Botswana exports, and develop new exporters. Ladies and gentlemen, it is imperative that I share with you the successes of the first program. The first program succeeded in raising the level of awareness. And I think you'll agree with me that it's something that we should continue to do, as it is also part of the current program. So it was important that we raise that level of awareness about exporting within our business community. However, it is important to note that not much was achieved in increasing the number of export products and exporting companies. Therefore, the vision of the revised plan is to develop an export-led economy like indicated before, and most importantly is to improve on the deficiencies of the initial program. I want to reiterate here, ladies and gentlemen, that the foundations of the Botswana Export Development Programme remains raising export awareness. I think we need to underline that, because without awareness, people will not be able to take advantage of the program. And one of the foundations that we need to build on as you launch this program, like it was indicated by Your Excellency Mabarins, is to build capacity, to make sure that our companies are ready to comply with export procedures and also to meet foreign market requirements, as well as linking companies with foreign buyers with greater emphasis on market intelligence. While BITC remains the leading agency in driving implementation of this program that we are launching today, its success depends on active participation of all stakeholders. An increase and resilience in national export is dependent on the capacity of our country to produce tradable commodities. That is where we need to put a lot of effort. As we have indicated, myself and Your Excellency Mabarins, that we need to build the needed capacity for companies to be able to access international markets. Therefore, I wish to pause here to implore all stakeholders to assist in building resilient, productive capacity in the country for our companies to take advantage of opportunities presented by a number of bilateral and multilateral agreements that we have signed with our trading partners. Director of Ceremony, achieving export growth involves mobilization of a set of factors. Each one of these factors addressing specific components of inefficiencies. The proposed areas of support and interventions in the program will address these issues that, as we have identified, limit our ability to export and also our ability to access these new markets. Therefore, it's very important that interventions that we come up with will also contribute towards business environment reforms that will ultimately lead to an environment that is conducive to exports. Director of Ceremony, the success of this program is dependent on the recognition that enterprises need interventions depending on their level of development. Therefore, this program should have some level of flexibility in provision of company export readiness capacity, building interventions. The program should establish an effective national framework that will assist exporters and potential exporters of products and services to effectively compete in regional and international markets. As I conclude my address, Director of Ceremony, I wish to emphasize the importance of enhanced implementation of this program. It is very, very critical that as you launch this program, I think what is important beyond the launch is implementation that will make an impact, that will help us achieve our objective of an export-led economy. As I indicated earlier on, for this program to have an impact in the economy, all stakeholders need to play their part. We need to work coherently to deliver on the different aspects of the program. I therefore wish to implore BITC and other stakeholders to maintain the discipline of monitoring and evaluating progress and taking timely remedial action as we continue during the period of implementation of this program. I therefore wish to conclude by emphasizing, in particular, the role of the private sector in the economy, because government alone cannot achieve the growth and diversification we aspire to take this economy to a higher income status. I also wish BITC and key partners all the best in the implementation of the revised program. As I conclude, I also wish to once again express my gratitude to UNDP. Your Excellency, we are very grateful to have your support always, because you support us in a lot of programs. You have already alluded to some of those programs that you have rendered your support, and we are forever grateful for that, and we will continue to work with you closely so that we achieve those objectives of making sure that we elevate this country to the level that you all aspire it to be. Director of Ceremonies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, with those few remarks, I declare the revised Botswana Export Development Programme officially launched. I thank you very much.
Thank you for those wonderful words. I guess it was a loaded messaging. You know, my take home from it is the emphasis of where we are and where we should be going in terms of export development and promotion. And I guess for me, the issue of working together as all the affected stakeholders to support our enterprises will be key in terms of achieving significant results for this program. And over and above that, you know, availing resources to ensure that there's smooth implementation of the program. So for me, those are the key undertaking that I take from the address by our Permanent Secretary. I'll now call upon on stage our Executive Director of Export Development and Promotion, Mayor Makgabontshwane, to unpack the program in terms of how it has been designed and the offering that is contained within the program. Makgabontshwane, you can take us through what the new program has on offer for the export community.
Thank you, Mr. Ntapu. Let me start by acknowledging the presence of Her Excellency Mayor Jacinta Barnes, the resident representative from UNDP, our PS, Mema Malikongwa, BITC CEO, Re Ulibile, BITC COO, Re Selilo, Re Dichaba, who is representing Business Botswana. And then I'll go deep down into outlining what does the document contain. My presentation will mainly cover the revised BEDP offering, the beneficiaries, who are the beneficiaries of this program. I will also touch on the strategic implementation and also allude to the fact that the program also had realized that indeed there are some challenges in the economy and how they can be addressed. The other key part that I'll also touch on is on the progression routes within the BEDP. How do you progress within the Exporter Development Program? And also the implementation ecosystem. I must start by highlighting that the foundation of the Exporter Development Program is the National Export Strategy, which is really designed to increase Botswana global competitiveness by increasing its current level of export and diversifying the country export base. And also, NES recognized the need to strengthen the export development program. So the basis of these and the revision was really founded on the National Export Strategy, because that's where we derive our strategy. Majacinta has also already touched on the key highlights that I would want all of us as we depart here to also note, that these are the main objectives of the revised Exporter Development Program. The first one being exporter training, the second one being exporter diversification, and the third one being problem solving. In terms of the exporter training, that's where we would be focusing on developing capacity, building awareness, and also introducing companies to the export market. Since the program, we finished the revision in April this year. So as BITC, because we are the lead implementer, we didn't wait for the launch, but we had already started implementing the same. Within the exporter training, what we've done is that we've developed some modules that we'll be rolling them out this quarter and training people who are interested in exporting regarding logistics, regarding the Incoterms of what exporting does it entail. And also we'll be sharing web-based tutorials and videos, and also share information on the market requirements. So in terms of the exporter training, that's what this program will be focusing on. And also be supporting market entry strategies. The development of export culture is one of the key things that exporter training also is looking at. And it's one key thing. We know that it takes time to build a culture, but it's one key thing that we'll be focusing on. And the second aspect of the program is focusing on exporter diversification. This is to diversify the export market by linking products and markets. Here, the current program is really focusing and stressing market usage of market intelligence tools and linking exporters to the buyers, international buyers. I must say and highlight that as BITC, we've subscribed to different market intelligence tools. We know that it's expensive for the business community to be subscribing to those. Hence, as BITC, we've subscribed to these tools to assist exporters or potential exporters on how they can penetrate these different markets, on what are the possibilities and what are the opportunities that exist and who are the potential buyers. So we've got these tools, and I will ask the business community to utilize our services to come to us as BITC so that we can, if you've got any inquiries, come to us so that we can see how best we can assist in using these market intelligence tools. And the third point is on problem solving. I must highlight that this one is really promotion of a favorable business environment. Here, one of the key elements that I would want to highlight is that is tracking of non-tariff barriers is one of the key things that this program has since indicated that this should be done. And this has to be done using the electronic non-tariff buyer reporting system. We see this being done in countries like Rwanda. So it's one of the key highlights that this program has recommended, that we need to be having an electronic non-tariff buyer reporting system. So in a nutshell, those are the three key objectives of the revised Exporter Development Program. I must highlight also in terms of the beneficiaries, and one might ask, who are the beneficiaries of this program? The program has identified 6 beneficiaries. The first program had initially targeted 5, who are the Explorer, Export Aware Enterprise, the Export Ready Enterprise, the Startup Exporter, the Global Exporter. But this program has since introduced the SDP beneficiaries, which is the program that UNDP is also supporting. The Explorer, as you may be aware, this is defined as an enterprise who is really exploring options for developing business, and exporting could be one of those. And then somebody that is being classified as an export aware is an enterprise that has no idea of what exporting entails and is ready, is export ready in some respects, but lacks the necessary knowledge and export capacity. And then the export ready one is whereby the company has some basic infrastructure for export, but they don't have the export marketing plans. I must state that as BITC, we do assist and facilitate companies in terms of developing export marketing plans. And the startup exporter is the enterprise that is export ready and has completed the export marketing plans and just left with the execution of that. The global exporter is where we now assist them. They have been exporting, but they want maybe to diversify their export market. So the last one, which is the new addition to the revised Exporter Development Program, which is really to integrate where SMMEs are capacitated and then they will be linked with the buyers. Jacinta has already alluded to this one, whereby as UNDP, they are putting together in collaboration with BITC, I must state that, putting together SMMEs and developing them or linking them with the potential buyers or buyers of certain products. What we do here is a buyer will stipulate or identify what are the key critical requirements and what are the qualities they would want the product to achieve. And then we develop them to reach that particular level and then introduce them to that. As indicated, areas of support with regard to the different beneficiaries, those are linked across the 3 areas. The Explorer, the main focus in the Explorer part will be education and also linking products and markets. But with the Exporter Aware, they will be going through all the 3 stages, which is exporter education, linking product and market, and also practical problem solving. And then the export ready companies will also be doing the same. But the global exporter and the startup exporter, education, we won't be doing that because the assumption is that they are already there, but we'll still be doing market intelligence tools for assisting with market intelligence tools for them. But they will be doing the linking of products to market and also doing the problem solving. Exporter, supplier cluster, those ones are SMMEs, as I've indicated, and then linking them with the buyers. One of the key issues that has been identified was that for us to achieve the implementation of this program, it has to be done on a cost-sharing basis. As BITC, as you may be aware, we are dependent on government grant. So during the discussion, it was realized that yes, cost sharing will initially be a challenge, but however, the principle and practice of cost sharing is well established for export promotion and development. And also it's used globally. So it's expected that companies or private sector should also put in something so that they could benefit. So the program is stressing that we need to cost share to also show commitment from the local or from the private sector's standpoint. The program also, as part of the strategies, I've already talked about the non-tariff barrier reporting system and also the tutorials, which are web-based tutorials and video conferencing that we'll be using. But it's prompting enterprises to collaborate with national research institutions like your BEDP. So we need your BUANG. So these are the institutions that this new or the revised Exporter Development Program is stressing, that we need to collaborate with the research institutions and mainly to come up with the new products or the development of the new product. I think you might agree with me that as Botswana, our net and our product base is very small. And as part of the export challenges, as you can see the picture here, yes, in terms of GDP, it shows that it's a bit diversified. But as you look at the export base, it shows that more than 59% is mainly the exportation of rough diamonds. So really, there is still a lot that needs to be done for us to diversify the export base and also move away from the non-traditional export, from the traditional exports to non-traditional. As I've mentioned, the review had identified a number of challenges and a SWOT analysis was conducted, which has identified some strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And as part of the strengths, it's in their government agenda, really, we want to be an export-led economy. As a country, we have got a strong balance of payment and also macroeconomic stability. And also we've got a strong tourism export. So those are the kind of things that were identified or realized as strengths of the country. But in terms of weaknesses was that we have a very small manufacturing sector, hence the need to really develop or to develop SMMEs to reach a certain level. And also one of the key weaknesses that was identified was the impact of the Dutch disease, that we are really dependent on one commodity. Hence the reason why we need to diversify. High transport cost is also one of the weaknesses that were identified, but there are also a range of opportunities that were identified. The establishment of the special economic zone is a great opportunity that will enhance the export base, or that will improve the exports from Botswana. We've also, as our peers has already indicated, we've signed a number of trade agreements, which is really an opportunity. We've signed a number of trade agreements that I would urge the export community or the business community here to take advantage of. And also, as indicated, the trade agreements are being simplified so that the business community could also understand them. So please, let's utilize this. As BITC, we are part and parcel of this because we are the lead in terms of export development and promotion. In terms of the threats that were identified is the slow regional growth and also the non-tariff barriers, particularly with the neighboring countries as we try to export. And also there's a rising protectionism. Most of the countries are looking into protecting their domestic market, which is a real challenge. As indicated, the Export Development Programme really is part and parcel of the national and policy context. SDGs Vision 2036 also is looking at export-led economy. The revision of the UNDP also is looking at export-led economy. So everything really is dependent on us really to take advantage of these. As progression rules within the export development and promotion, our peers has already indicated that yes, BITC will be leading the implementation, but all hands should be on the deck in terms of for us to really realize this. So we'll be working closely as we've done before with the LEA and CEDA. LEA doing export awareness in particular, non-exporting companies, we are trying to educate them to reach an export readiness level. Exporting firms will be linking them or linking their products to the different market. And existing exporters will be problem solving those problems that they are encountering, improving also the business environment here, what the challenges that the exporters are currently facing. So one of the key highlights, what the consultants who assisted in terms of developing this, that's the implementation ecosystem to say everybody should do their part if we are interested in reaching an export-led economy. So this is what we should do. BITC from the investment promotion side, whereby we'll be attracting investors. From the business facilitation side, we need to play a role. SPED, we need to play a role. Bank of Botswana, Ministry of Finance needs to play a role. Regulators need to play their part. BEDP would have to play their part. BURS, BTO, BDC need to play their part. CEDA, LEA, everybody need to play their part in different space. So this program has indicated what each institution needs to do for us really to achieve an export-led growth. So in a nutshell, that's what the Exporter Development Program entails. We already have a finalized the document. We do have hard copies. We also have soft copies that we will be sharing with the business community. But as BITC, we stand ready to lead and implement this. As indicated that the key thing that has to be done is the implementation part. But I would want to urge all, as I've indicated, this is dependent on us. This is a cost sharing. We will be putting our part. The business community also need to come on board. Different government institutions also need to play their role so that we can eventually realize an export-led growth. Thank you, Director of Ceremonies.
Thank you, Mayor Magabontoni, for the wonderful presentation. We are edging closer to the finish. At this stage, I will call upon Reginald Selelo, our Chief Operations Officer at Botswana Investment and Trade Center, to give us the closing remarks. Selelo.
Thank you, Program Director. I thought you were going to have somebody from Remolobe saying something before I come in, but I trust.
Yes, that is correct.
That's very correct. Thank you, sir. Renta, you've muted your mic, sir.
Yeah. It's my apologies for that mistake. Remolobe, of course, it's your time before we take the closing remarks.
Thank you very much, Timo, our MC. And I want to thank you for allowing Business Botswana to say a word or two on this very, very important occasion of the launch of the Exporter Development Programme. And I also want to take this opportunity to greet all the very important people that you have invited to this, including the resident rep of the UNDP. I'll try to be very quick because I see that you want to wrap up. I think we, just by way of background, it is important to recognize that we as a country face a number of critical issues, and some of these issues were identified in the review of the midterm review of the NDP 11. And the key issues there were, one, I'm not going to go through all the issues, but the key ones were economic transformation, ensuring that we maintain macroeconomic stability, and the changing world of diamonds. I think this one of the changing world of diamonds is important too, and there's a reason why it was picked up. And as a result of that, after the review of the NDP 11, we had the Minister of Finance and Economic Development, Honorable Matseka, also present his maiden budget speech, the 2021 budget speech. And he identified 4 national priorities. And it's interesting again that the first priority that he talked about was promotion of export-led growth. He also talked about efficient government spending, building human capital, and provision of appropriate infrastructure. But for me, I think what is important is to recognize that he identified promotion of export-led growth as the first priority among those 4 that he talked about. And there's a reason for this. I think previous speakers have also alluded to this, the fact that we are now in an era where we cannot be dependent on the diamond mining to sustain our prosperity as a country. So that being the case, it is important to identify additional sources of growth to transform the economy from where it is as an upper middle income to high income. And you might also recognize that, you know, growth has been subdued for the last 10 years. I mean, the average growth was 4% as compared to the 70s where we could hit 10, 8, 15%. So this then speaks to the need to accelerate exports of goods and services so that we are in a good position to create employment. And the only way we are going to create employment, given the nature of our labor force, is that we should look to manufacturing, because then we stand a good chance to employ a good number of people as opposed to some of our sectors which are capital intensive. And I was asked to say a word or two about the role of the private sector. And in my view, the role of the private sector is self-evident. The role of the private sector is to produce goods and services for exports. And we expect government to, on the other hand, provide a conducive environment so that the private sector then gets on with the business of producing goods and services for export. As I say, the role of the private sector is to get in the space of producing goods and services. And on the other hand, the role of government, if in a free market, is to provide a conducive environment. And I think there's a broad consensus on that. It's not something that we need to debate. This is why government has identified the private sector as the engine of growth. So going forward, I think it's important that the private sector plays that role of producing goods and services. And I think there's also space for the private sector to complement government efforts, especially with the provision of infrastructure. If we are going to be developing special economic zones, I think it helps that we invite private funding of some of these zones so that we relieve government of all this pressure of having to provide almost infrastructure that we need, because we know the pressure on the fiscus. So one of the things that we need to think about quickly is to invite the private sector to participate in the provision of this infrastructure. The expectation of the private sector, in my view, is also it must expect that other stakeholders such as BITC and government expect the private sector to be competitive so that they can play in the export market, because the export market is highly competitive. So there's expectation that those that participate in export will have to be efficient. They'll have to pay a lot of attention to productivity, because if their methods are not productive, there are no high levels of productivity, then it will be difficult for us to penetrate export market. So it is important that we pay a lot of attention to productivity and learn from those that are good at exporting, And there might be a few things that we need to look at, even the remuneration of people who are in the export sector, because in other countries, they don't pay you for the time spent at work. They might decide that they will pay you for the amount of goods that you have produced. So we are in a very, very competitive space. We might have to look at our Employment Act and make provisions for some of these things that we are not used to as a country. And there might be uproar, but this is the reality of the world that we want to participate in the export market. It's highly competitive. It demands a lot of efficiency. So this is not for government. It is for the private sector to ensure that they adhere to those high standards of productivity and efficiency. And if they cannot do that, then we'll be in very, very serious trouble. I think the other thing that we need to appreciate as we embark on this road, very, very important road of exporting, will be openness to the world. In as much as we want to sell to the world, we must expect the world to also want to sell a lot of goods to us. So we must keep an open economy and resist as much as possible temptation to impose higher walls of protectionism and all that. Because if we want to do this, to export, obviously other countries expect us to maintain openness, and openness will also help us in attracting FDI. I think the last point from me is something that my previous speakers, starting with the resident rep all the way to the PS, talked about, which is the need to improve the business environment. And this is something that we need to keep on working on at all times. There'll never be a point where we have a perfect business environment. We'll have to keep on improving, continuous improvement at all time. So let's continue to pay attention to that. And this is not a role for the private sector. I think this one will be for the regulatory authorities. So Timo, thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Remolobe. Those are wonderful ways that you have shared with us today. Before I call upon Raselelo to give the closing remarks, we have a launch video that we wish to share with you, and then we'll call Raselelo for the closing remarks. I hope the video was visible on your side. That was our launch video. I hope it was visible on your side. But without any further ado, Raselelo, the stage is yours to conclude the proceedings of the day with the closing remarks.
All right, thank you, Program Director. Let me start off at the very beginning by recognizing the presence of our Permanent Secretary, Mama Ligongwa, and also to recognize the UNDP Resident Representative, Her Excellency Jacinta Barnes. I also wish to recognize our CEO and our host for this morning, Re Ulibile. Also, I wish to recognize Re Molobe, from Business Botswana, for also having had the opportunity to be with us this morning. I also wish to, at the beginning, also recognize all development partners who are partaking in this event, as well as all senior government officials that are represented here. I also wish to recognize in a very special way all partner institutions that we work with, particularly in ensuring that Botswana becomes an export-led economy. I wish to recognize SPEDU, LEA, BNPC, CESA, UB, BURS, Vision 2036. I've also seen Statistics Botswana. I've seen representatives from SADC, from British Council, and so forth. Ladies and gentlemen, you are recognized, and a very good morning to you all. I've been requested this morning to give a word of thanks, and allow me to thank in a very special way our Permanent Secretary, Mama Likongwa, for having shared with us the keynote address for this launch, and for having taken a time out of a very busy schedule to join us this morning in delivering the special message in today's launch. As already alluded to, the success of the program is dependent on all of us, and therefore I wish to implore all partner institutions to work extremely hard in ensuring that we build Botswana as an export-led economy. Also very critical, I would like to thank in a very special way UNDP for the entire support in reviewing the program, as well as in drawing the necessary implementation program alongside BITC and other strategic partners. We thank you most heartily for this support, and we don't take it lightly. And therefore, please remain open to us. We'll keep coming for more support and more assistance. Just remain open your doors for us. The most critical thing as we go on is for us to develop an export culture in Botswana. And this is not an easy task. And therefore, it requires a concerted effort by all of us to ensure that we tie our hands together in ensuring that we build the necessary export awareness, we build the necessary export resilience, we ensure that our products and companies partake in global value chains, as well as international supply chains as well. Also very critical for us is to ensure that we build a favorable business climate that will ensure that the businesses or exporters thrive, particularly now than ever before, with the opportunities presented by the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, which will come into implementation on the 1st of January 2021. The agreement presents yet another big opportunity for us as a country to be able to export into the African continent. It provides us with access to over 1.2 billion people within the continent, and therefore it is very, very important for us to take advantage of the opportunities presented by the agreement. I know currently we do have the SADC Trade Protocol, and therefore would like to ensure that our products reach out to all SADC markets, and therefore it is in our responsibility to ensure that we build the necessary productive capacity for us to be able to take advantage of the several market access agreements that we have. The launch that we've just experienced this morning is the beginning of a long and fruitful journey for our country. And therefore, let's consider today as the start of a long journey, and therefore implore on all of you partners in particular to put our hands together in ensuring that the BEDP is successfully implemented. And therefore, in a special way, I wish to thank all participants in today's launch for having taken time to join us in the launch. We did the launch digitally. I think it's one of the first few digital launches that have been done. And I recognize that we had 70 or thereabout in our Zoom platform. And in our Facebook page, we had in excess of 200 people in our BITC Facebook page. So in total, we had in excess of 270 people participating in today's launch. And I therefore wish to thank all the 270 people who participated today for their time. And therefore, with those few remarks, I wish to thank you and enjoy the rest of the afternoon. Thank you so much. And thank you, Program Director.
Thank you, Raselelo. The last bit of the program is to, though we didn't start with a prayer, we are going to close with a prayer from a volunteer to close the proceedings of the day and ask for blessings for this program from our mighty God. Can I have a volunteer to pray for us?
Okay, thanks, Rentapu. Let's pray. Father, in the name of Jesus, we come before you. We need your strength in everything that you do. We thank you, Lord, for taking us through this journey, through all the interactions that we had with different stakeholders. It was through your power, your strength, and your knowledge. And we thank you, God. We continue to pray that God give us strength so that we can be able to execute what we've committed to do. We pray all this in the mighty name of Jesus. Thank you.
Thank you, Makabontoni. The proceedings for the day are going to end here. There have been some engagement through our chat platform. We will avail the presentations that have been made today, including the remarks by H.E. Jacinta Barnes. And also, let me promise that the document is ready for sharing. We will be sharing through various platforms the revised program. We also have a few printed hard copies that are available at the BITC offices. In case you need a printed copy, you can pass by our office to collect one, or we can share a digital copy online. I wish you a fruitful day, and thank you for attending this launch of the revised BEDP. Enjoy the rest of the day. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.